is concerned. And also some breaking news this particular morning, or rather when you slept last night, what developed during the night that you're waking up to this particular morning. It has to do with the issue of Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza, where the Senate did uphold the charges that were leveled against her, and right now she stands impeached. This is the third time this particular governor has been presented in the Senate for impeachment, an impeachment motion rather, that has been leveled against her, especially coming from the Meru County Assembly. And this time round, she did not survive. We'll be getting into the details of that later on in this particular program. Engage us on our socials at K24 TV, that is on X, on Facebook, and also on YouTube. We'll be sampling your feedback as we continue with the program this particular morning. Do tell us where you are watching us from and what you think about the conversation we'll be having this morning that has to do with the issue of Governor Kawira Mwangaza, and also later on taking a look at what the president has been promising in as far as development is concerned in the country. He's been traversing different parts of the country, especially since the beginning of this particular month, that is the month of August, launching different projects to the chagrin of a lot of people who've said the president is launching projects that had initially been launched. Some people have taken it upon themselves to inspect the same projects that were launched years ago or months ago, and to see whether anything is happening on that particular front and put it out there. Well, you can call it public participation at, initiated by the people, or issues to do with auditing the projects that the state has been commissioning and launching ever since it took power, and also in the previous regime. I'll be getting into the details of all this that is developing this particular morning and try to set an agenda for you to give you something to think about today and also act as a citizen of this particular country. Now, before we get into all that, and that has to do with the issue of Governor Kawira Mwangaza, and also have a conversation about the state of the nation, I do want to take you through some of the stories making headlines this particular morning. Let's start with this one. It is a win for the government as the Financial Bill 2023 will now remain in effect until the Supreme Court gives a verdict on an appeal filed by the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Planning. While issuing the conservatory orders, the Supreme Court considered the uncertainty regarding the revenue-raising measures and difficulties that may arise in the operations of the two levels of government. Now, the determination of the appeal is set for September 10th. Until then, taxes under the Act will continue to apply. This is a story produced by David Kagina.
The Supreme Court has issued conservatory orders temporarily suspending portions of the Court of Appeal's decision declaring Finance Act 2023 unconstitutional. This decision comes in response to appeals filed by the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Planning, along with 4 other government officials, against the Court of Appeal's decision. The Finance Act of 2023 suffered a major setback on July 31, 2024, when the Court of Appeal invalidated it, citing procedural flaws in its enactment, leading to widespread uncertainty about the government's financial and operational frameworks, prompting the then Treasury CS Professor Njuguna Ndung'u to seek relief from the Supreme Court. And I quote, "Taking into account the uncertainty regarding the revenue-raising measures and difficulty that may arise in the operations of the two levels of government as posed by the applicants, coupled with the far-reaching implications of the declaration of the entire Finance Act 2023 as unconstitutional, we are persuaded that the consolidated appeal may be rendered nugatory." Concerns about the legislative process used to enact the Finance Act dominated the Supreme Court's deliberations, particularly the level of public participation and adherence to Article 114 of the Constitution, which governs financial legislation. The court acknowledged that these issues require additional judicial scrutiny and should be thoroughly examined during the full hearing of the appeals. However, in granting the conservatory orders, the Supreme Court emphasized the importance of maintaining government stability and avoiding disruptions in public administration. The orders effectively stay the Court of Appeal's declaration that nullified the Finance Act, allowing the government to continue its operations while the legal battles plays out. Furthermore, the court acknowledged the importance of public interest, stating that granting the Treasury's request would promote stability in both the national budget and the allocation of funds while the appeal progresses. The Supreme Court noted in its ruling The conservatory orders are necessary to avoid potential operational disruptions in government activities. We are not convinced that the consequence of declaring the entire Finance Act as unconstitutional would be reversible should the appeal before us be successful. The consolidated appeals, which include petitions E031, E032 and E033 of 2024, are scheduled for an expedited hearing in September 2024. The outcome of the hearing is eagerly anticipated, as it will have far-reaching consequences for Kenya's legislative process and the future of Finance Act 2023, considering new taxes introduced by the Act include a 5% withholding tax on digital content monetization, a capital gains tax on transfer of shares, 16% VAT on petrol, kerosene, aviation and jet fuel, housing levy, among others. David Kagina, K24, Nairobi.
Now, at least 13 people have died and over 36 others were seriously injured in a dawn accident at Miga Black Spots in Nakuru Eldoret Highway. Now, the accident occurred at around 5 a.m. on Tuesday, involving a coast bus company vehicle and a private car. This comes even as the government has been urged to expand the Nakuru Eldoret Highway to end the constant road carnages along the busy highway.
On Tuesday morning, along the Eldoret-Nakuru Highway within Miga area, transport was affected for a while owing to an accident that claimed 13 lives on the spot. Rift Valley Police Commander Jasper Ombati confirmed that 55 people were injured and rushed to various hospitals within the county.
Of those who have lost their lives, from the past, we have a total of 11, and from the small car we have a total of 2. The small car was carrying 5 passengers, including the driver, and of the 5, 2 are the ones who succumbed.
Rhoda Atieno, one of the accident survivors, has narrated that the coast bus was in poor condition and the occupiers kept urging the driver to seek for an alternative vehicle just before the accident.
Afika Kericho, but gari haikuwa inapanda mlima hata vizuri, like ilikuwa tuna shida. So kufika Kericho, watu wakajam, wakasema eti wao hawezi endelea na safari na hiyo gari imeharibika, watafute another bus kama iko ituchukue tupeleke Mombasa, but hiyo ndi fanyiwe nini, fanyiwe service.
Ilianza kunokea hapo Kericho. Sasa vile ninoka hapo Kericho, tukakaa hapo sana. Ndoko sasa vile ilikuwa inakuja, mimi nilikuwa nasikia tu huko, nilikuwa nimekaa hapo katikati. Nasikia tu mabumps pa. Sasa inaenda tu speed, inaenda tu straight, inaenda. Sasa kidogo nikaona tu giza tu. Sasa ndio nasikia watu wanalia.
David Ngoge, a driver along this highway, has warned that if the busy road will not be expanded, it will continue to claim lives.
Barabara ile kitu inasababisha, mara mingi wanasema ni madriver ama gari, lakini hapana. Hii gari unajua vile unaanzia huko kwa juu, huko kwa mawe, gari ziko mingi barabara. So unaenda pole ukikanyaga brakes, na vile unaenda ukanyaga zile brakes, je inaenda ikikuwa moto. So ukifika hapa chini unakuta gari haina brake. So kama wanaweza saidia, kuna mradi mingi serikali inaweza simamisha na ichukulie hii kama ni serious.
The regional commander has to this end urged drivers to drive with caution, urging public transport companies to ensure only roadworthy vehicles operate along the highways.
Aspects of overspeeding should be avoided at all costs, and also, most importantly, ensure that their vehicles are in good conditions before they embark on their journeys.
Mombi Wambogo, K24 TV.
Now, the National Assembly has affirmed the recommendation to consolidate all bursary and government funding to pave way for free education. Speaking before parliamentarians, the State Department for Higher Learning lamented over the falsification of information, stating that 80% of students who applied for funding indicated that they were raised by single mothers, while 70% claimed that their parents earned less than 6,000 shillings. They have now recommended that such fabrications should warrant penalties. Harry Chimea reports.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I know
the National Assembly has held a sitting to discuss the university funding model that has been under immense scrutiny.
Allow them to ventilate and then you give direction.
The need for consolidating various bursary funds and government funding arose, with the National Assembly affirming that the move will revive free education.
We have a lot of duplex processes. We have an MCA giving bursaries, an MP giving bursaries, a constituents based, women rep are giving bursaries, we have governors giving bursaries, we have your minister giving bursaries, we have banks making their own interventions, and so on and so forth. All these are public resources. If you pull them together, it will not be beyond anybody's imagination to have free education in this country.
The Ministry of Education lamented over falsifying information, stating that 80% of 125,000 students who applied for funding indicated that they are being raised by single mothers, while 70% of them claimed that their parents earn less than 6,000 shillings.
I'm persuaded by the evidence, Honorable Speaker, that we have a serious problem of integrity.
We have also noted that the students who have been on Harambee are shy to tick on the form that they were on Harambee.
We are applying social parameters, not financial tools. I think that is the biggest problem in this model. You can go to KRA, you can go to salary slips. There's enough financial tools that if we apply to this system, we will get to know who are in need and who are not in need. Because if we leave it blank and use social parameters like polygamy and all these other things I'm seeing here, we are opening a very good system to fraud and corruption, and to politicians like us who will want to encourage people to go and get loans.
And in regard to using secondary schools to classify students as per level of need,
the issue the school somebody attended is very misleading. Because most of us are in WhatsApp group fundraising, parents sacrifice to even do those fundraisers so that kids can go to good schools for a better life, not that they can afford it.
The Ministry of Education has now affirmed that appeals will be completed in 3 weeks, further adding that the funding application deadline has been extended until 31st of December this year.
And we may now take our leave.
Harriet Chimea, K24.
Now, at least 8 police officers, including Westland Sub-County Commander and Gigiri OCS, have been interdicted following the escape of 13 prisoners, among them prime suspect of the recent quarry killings, Collins Jumaisi, at Gigiri Police Station. And as Milia Kisienya now reports, the prison escape has exposed loose ends in police cells. This one being among the recent cases of prisoners escaping custody.
This is what we meet when we arrive. This opening at the fence of Gigiri Police Station. It's believed that the 13 suspects, including prime suspect of the quarry killings, Collins Jumaisi, could have used to escape. The escape alleged to have occurred at around 5 a.m. in the morning. The police, catching a glimpse of the escape hours later while drinking tea. The incident got them pacing up and down in search of answers. This small Kamkunji can barely provide answers. And within seconds, the police in command streamed at the police station. DCI boss Mohammed Amin, accompanied by the Deputy Inspector of Police, Gilbert Masengeli. All seeking nothing but answers. And after hours of digging for answers, Masengeli walked in with a brief statement, majorly highlighting on the investigation's part.
Our preliminary investigation indicated that the escape was aided by insiders, considering that officers were deployed accordingly to guard the station. I have interdicted 8 officers who were on duty last night, among them the Kikiri Sub-County Police Commander, OCS, Kikiri Police Station, Duty Officer, Duty NCO, Station Cards and Report Office. The matter is currently under investigation by Internal Affairs Unit, and any person found culpable will...
Out of the 8 officers interdicted include Westland Sub-County Commander, Gigiri OCS, the officer on duty and 5 others.
The matter is currently under investigation by Internal Affairs Unit, and any person found culpable will face.
However, as the police commence the investigation, a string of questions have emerged. Among them, how did the 13th suspect escape under the watch of the police officers on duty? What stopped the 4 suspects that remained behind from fleeing with the others? And were the CCTVs operational during the time of the incident? This is not the first incident to have occurred of suspect escaping police cells, especially prime murder suspects such as Collins Jumaisi. 2 other incidents include serial killer Mastin Wanjala, who escaped police custody in Buruburu police station, and murder suspect Kelvin Kangethe, who escaped Muthaiga police station. Milia Kisienya, K24 TV.
Now, President William Ruto now says even the judiciary is also responsible in ensuring the government has resources, now appearing to slam them on their previous decisions to halt proposals to mobilize more revenue. According to the president, there is need for harmony and setting aside differences that will make the arms of government and independent institutions appear to be competing while superseding the interests of the public. Speaking during the handover of end-term reports of 4 commission chairpersons, the head of state has assured that the recruitment to fill the positions will be free and fair and also consider women. The 4 chairpersons whose 6-year non-renewable terms are coming to an end are Lynn Mengich of Salaries and Remuneration Commission.
Finds the overall interest of the people of Kenya. We must support the judiciary to do its function. The judiciary must or equally support the executive to discharge its mandate. And so must the executive support the legislature to appropriate and discharge the mandate assigned to them by the Constitution.
SRC is proud of the remarkable achievement made over the 6 years, leading to a progressive drop in the total wage bill to revenue over the period from 51.54% in the financial year 2017-18 to 46.64% in the financial year 2024-2023.
All right, now businessman Jimmy Wanjigi was released on a 10 million shilling bond after his defense argued that his arrest was illegal since he had obtained court orders barring his arrest. Now, Chief Magistrate Susan Shitubi directed that the businessman, come politician, be released together with his aide, pending a ruling on whether the court will defer his plea, taking on allegations of being in possession of unlicensed firearms. After his release, Wanjigi blamed the state for his woes, maintaining that his troubles are politically instigated. The court will issue a determination on the matter on the 12th of September.
Apply for the taking of the plea to be postponed. To give us an opportunity to challenge in the High Court the bringing of these charges, for the reasons that even as the accused or the suspect was being arrested, there were valid court orders issued by the High Court of Kenya directing the suspect not to be arrested.
Each to sign on bond of 10 million to appear for the ruling. And if there are any passports to be deposited.
William Ruto, why do you fear me? If you fear me, be a man. Come and deal with me properly. Kiwanjani ya siasa. Not in my home, terrorizing my family, and not in these courts with trumped-up charges. You are afraid that we are redefining the politics of this nation.
Now, senators have made a clarion call to Acting Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, to take disciplinary action against police officers who use excessive force while enforcing the law. This call was made after Kanja's vetting report was presented to the Senate yesterday, and the Senate approved him as the head of the police force as the IG following the resignation of his predecessor, Japheth Koome. Mariam Jahid has more.
The Senate has approved the nomination of Douglas Kanja as Police Inspector General. The development follows a recommendation by a joint committee of Parliament that vetted Kanja last week.
And Standing Order 77 of the Senate approves the nomination of Mr. Douglas Kanja Kirocho for appointment for the position of Inspector General of the National Police Service. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay?
While debating the motion on Kanja's nomination, some senators expressed their concerns over the brutality of police officers against civilians during protests and security operations.
I hope that the new IG will take note of the court ruling that has pronounced itself clearly about using live bullet cannons, about police in civilian clothing. This will also be rectified through his tenure when he reaches the office that he is.
Mr. Speaker, the minister has his place. The CS has his place. But, Mr. Speaker, we want, when it comes to security matters, the Inspector General of Police must be seen, must be heard, must be felt within the Republic of Kenya.
Kanja has been urged to restore public trust by ensuring accountability and transparency in police operations if confirmed as the Inspector General.
This is a golden opportunity for you to be the first IG to make a serious attempt to implement the police as a service. And I believe if you implement the police as a service, this will benefit everybody in the country.
We need to see that level of efficiency, Mr. Speaker, between the police and the judiciary so that we don't discuss these small issues like the state of arrest or the modus operandi of police.
During the vetting process, Kanja promised to implement reforms and change the image of the National Police Service. With the Senate's endorsements, Kanja now awaits approval by the National Assembly to become the country's new IG. Mariam Jahid, K24, Nairobi.
All right, something important to note is that just recently the head of state said the retirement age is 60. We have someone that is getting in office at 60. Okay, so somehow defying what the head of state had said earlier on, but that's beside the point. Listen, we want to have a conversation here in studio this particular morning, setting the agenda of the day, taking a little bit, a look rather, on what is happening on the dailies here. And joining me for this particular conversation here, I'll be speaking to Morara Kibaso, who is a lawyer, and also Brenda Ongalo, who is the Secretary General, United Green Movement Party. Now listen, our conversation this particular morning will be focusing on the issues to do with the head of state and some of the projects that he's been launching in the recent weeks since the beginning of this month, and also just going back to the previous regime, some of the projects that were commissioned or launched and never saw the light of day. We'll be getting into the details of that later on. And also the issue to do with Governor Kawira Mongaza will be taking center stage in this particular conversation. And also just a little bit of what you're waking up to as far as the newspapers are concerned. Thank you, Morara, for making time. Brenda, good morning.
Good morning.
Now this is the thing. Previously on The Vampire Diaries.
Yes.
But now we don't want to look at previously. What's next on? Next on The Vampire Diaries, what are we looking at?
For security reasons, I cannot reveal what's next.
What's next?
But I can tell you what has happened.
Oh, what has happened?
Yes.
So we have another episode today?
We have another episode of The Vampire Diaries today. Hiyo ni kama dawa ya pressure.
Why The Vampire Diaries though? Why that? Why that particular title?
Yes, because our political class is acting like vampires. Yes.
Okay. Now, You've heard that. We'll be getting into the details of that. This conversation, taking a look at what is making sense in this country and what is not making sense in this country. Where exactly does your money go to? These particular projects that we see most of the time are being launched by the head of state and different government officials. Do they see the light of day at the end of the day? We'll be getting to that conversation later on. I hope that other guests, that is Mbeere North Member of Parliament, Geoffrey Ruku, will be making his way here in studio to help us make sense of some of the conversation we'll be having this particular morning. We take a break. We'll be back in a few.